We all have the choice to be great. No one is more superhuman than anyone else. We all have access to infinite intelligence, love, and creativity. And we all have access to infinite abundance. We are the ones putting limitations on ourselves. And with a lot of relationships going poorly right now coming to the surface, I can't really speak on how it is to be a man and how their relationship with lust feels like. And I don't know what their process with becoming a trustworthy, mature man feels like. But I do think a man knowing he's limitless is more trustworthy than a man thinking he's limited. Not limitless as in indulging in greed and thinking you can do whatever you want without any consequences, but limitless as in knowing they don't need anyone outside of themselves to toot their horn. Not seeking short-term validation or pleasure, because why would you waste your time on something that's not real when you know you're limitless? When you're a masculine man, you have experienced things that have built your character. I don't know if this is the best way of looking at things, but if you think of the viral quote Billie Eilish had, that if you give an ugly guy a chance, he thinks he rules the world. What I think is true with that is if a man has experienced for himself all the attention and validation and status, he wouldn't be impressed by something shallow. And of course, this experienced man could also become the indulging type. But he can also build the character from these experiences, knowing what real joy and peace feels like. You know what matters from experience, you have felt it, and you have upgraded your beliefs. But if you were to give a safe choice a chance on you, someone who hasn't had those experiences, someone who feels innocent or nerdy or maybe even secretly hates women because they haven't had any success with women. If you're a woman giving that guy a chance, he will probably think he rules the world, because he will probably think he can get another and another, because he probably has not processed his lust emotions and has a lot of built-up insecurity and hatred, and then thinking, whoa, if I can get this validation or attention, I wonder what more I can get. So there is no safe option in that sense, and I feel like the safest option, if you're gonna use that term, someone who has seen the world and has had everything they could want. They've built themselves up step by step to get there. A man with a substantial life, feeling like they matter in some sense. Having men looking up to them and women wanting them or admiring them. A lot of people say that being a famous man is the same as being a beautiful woman in the sense of getting that attention. And maybe you need to experience that, not specifically beauty or fame, but feeling like you matter. Having significance. It could be making a difference in something and building something and feeling seen and significant from that. And maybe in the world we live in, it's hard to get away from wanting to experience that attention and validation for our beauty or our status, to be able to let go of how much we put our value on that. And it's also biological in health and survival to feel chosen and highly ranked in that sense. But then of course we don't need to be in survival mode. If you haven't learned emotional control or don't feel like you have any options, you probably won't be loyal, because you feel limited and you haven't built any real confidence or values beyond your lust, because you haven't had an outlet for it. Your lust will rule you because you will feel weak and unworthy without your own experiences of significance. Beyond having a beautiful and high status woman, she represents that significance, but she's not you, and you want to experience that for yourself. And when you've experienced a lot and been through a lot and built character, your ego won't be able to rule your life in the same way. And maybe if we as a collective weren't so wounded and more healed as a baseline, we wouldn't even have to build our character from a validation standpoint if we knew we were limitless to begin with. But maybe that's the whole point and a part of the journey to understand and feel and truly embody. We all have the option, the chance to be whole and to heal our brains and our hearts and to feel limitless and to have the greatest successes we dream of and the greatest health and the greatest love. But to get there, we need to focus on depth in the places that matter most to us. We can get there if we scatter our attention everywhere. Then we can be okay at more things, but we won't be great at anything. And to be great at relationships, we have to master them in depth and not scatter our attention other places. You can practice that depth and communication with family and friends. Then you can learn to feel the difference better of who is trustworthy and not, because you will know what real depth feels like beyond lust and love bombing and material gifts of attention. Let people in beyond your shame. Talk about your shame. Shame thrives in secrecy, so it will slip out in action without your permission. You're not in the driver's seat and you're not friends with it, so you don't have any control over it. Heal from going to the depths of your brain with a therapist if you choose. Heal by walking your path that will bring you more clarity. Heal by having great community that puts you up and who holds you accountable. Heal by becoming great at what you choose to be great at. And heal by learning to navigate the depth of relationships beyond your limitations and ego to find that you're limitless.